Hey guys, Pixel here. Just wanted to let you know, in the event you want to try and start your own podcast, Anchor FM is the way to go. It has the creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It has everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, but many more as well. Ultimately, it is free, so it's no cost to you. So go ahead and download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
All right, and welcome to another episode of Two Guys, One Level, where two guys talk about all things gaming. I'm your host, Tortuga, accompanied by Pixel.
Welcome back, everybody. Got a really packed episode. Very excited to get that out for you. So I'll let Tortuga kick it off.
Well, first and foremost, I just want to go ahead and just disclaimer for our last episode, we gave out a bit of misinformation that I feel like we should correct real quick about Blizzard and the release of Overwatch 2.
Yes, absolutely. So I stated that you're going to have to pay for Overwatch 2, and that is not the case entirely. Overwatch 2 is moving to a free-to-play model for Overwatch 2. What you will have to pay for, which is optional, is going to be the Battle Pass that they are implementing. And then that's how you'll be able to unlock the new characters moving forward. Around tier 55 of 90 of the Battle Pass is where they'll be available, but all new characters will be available on the free Battle Pass, according to Blizzard.
Okay, so you still get the new characters as they come out, even if you don't pay for this Battle Pass subscription thing.
Right, you would just have to play to reach the tiers.
That's not too bad. That's almost what happens in Apex, essentially, right? You play enough until you get enough points to unlock whatever character you wish to have.
So every time you level up, you get, I think, like 600 coins, and each new, we'll say red coins because they have two. So the free coins, the red ones, you get 600 for every level up that you do, and then it's like 12,000 for a new character.
Wow, that's a lot. Okay. Well, at least it's something. I still enjoyed how Overwatch 1, every time a character came out, you had access to the full roster. You didn't have to pick and choose what you wanted to add to it. It allowed you to play around with different things. Having to purchase the characters that you want, it's an element that I'm not too happy with, but we'll see how it plans out.
Seriously, yeah. I'm going to agree with Tortuga. It's kind of a bad thing about this podcast. We have such similar mentalities, but I also, too, very much enjoyed the model that they had for Overwatch 1. It's like what I play Smite very, very casually, and what they offer is their God Pass, their Ultimate God Pack, I think is what they call it. So you pay a one-time fee. I think it's like $30 normally, but it goes on sale to like $20. And you get access to all current gods and all future gods with that one purchase.
Right. That doesn't sound like a bad move. But Blizzard clearly thinks this is the way that it'll make them the most money. So we'll see.
Yeah, we will. One of the major things that came on my radar this past week actually comes between NVIDIA and EVGA. So yeah. EVGA is reportedly not too happy with working with NVIDIA. So they will not be participating in the third-party graphics cards moving forward, starting with the RTX 40 series.
Yeah, I saw that. It sucks. As a consumer, as a gamer, it's horrible to see one of the best, if not the best manufacturer for these graphic cards calling it quits. And it's not because EVGA can't keep up with demand or what's being asked of them. It's honestly because they feel that NVIDIA is just playing too many games, pun unintended. There's just been so many reports of issues that they've had with NVIDIA. One of their biggest complaints being that NVIDIA refuses to let any manufacturer know the specs of what the new cards are going to be until they release it to the public. And EVGA is just tired of just waiting when they could be, making well or doing well with that time for R&D purposes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the reports that I've seen coming in is that EVGA's decision is partially the result of its treatment by NVIDIA. According to both sources, it's quote unquote about respect. The report that the graphics cards are about 80% of EVGA's current business, but that doesn't mean that they're going to stop doing it altogether. As of right now, it's only the 40 series, so they still have all of their stock for the RTX 30 series. And the actual margin of that profit is not, they said it's a slim margin of their business, that they still make about 300% more profit on their power supplies.
Yeah. I mean, they also make motherboards as well. So, I mean, they're not out of the game in as far as making computer parts. And it might just be, a power move to force NVIDIA to do better, right? EVGA is basically just making demands. NVIDIA said no, and NVIDIA says, all right, well, we're going to just stop supporting this, until you help us help you, essentially.
Mm-hmm. My buddy of mine, Jake, he had the 1080 for a long time. And when I was building mine, since I was out of the game for so long, I was asking him for like tips. And his number one promotion was EVGA. He said he's had some issues in the past, and that their customer support is unmatched when it comes
Right.
to their components. So, kind of curious to see how EVGA is going to handle this. Like Tortuga said, I don't think it's going to take them out of the game in any way, shape, or form. But still curious to see how it's going to affect, any of their other products moving forward, if they are going to be losing, this kind of portion of their profit.
Yeah. So we'll see. And it sucks because EVGA has the Kingpin series, which is like the flashiest of cards that come out with every edition. So seeing that we don't have that to look forward to with the 4K series is it's upsetting. I mean, that and amongst other things. And in my opinion, they outperform all the other third-party manufacturers. And another complaint that they had about NVIDIA is that while they have all these third parties make their versions of the cards, NVIDIA's still making, selling graphics cards from themselves, right? And they generally sell it for a couple $100 cheaper than the manufacturers are able to match. So it's a long list of complaints that EVGA has against NVIDIA, but we'll see. I kind of feel like NVIDIA will play ball. I don't know. Maybe that's just me being hopeful.
I'm gonna have to agree with you there. Even more though, even though NVIDIA does sell their own cards, you notice they're the first ones to sell out, which makes sense, right? They're first on the market.
Right.
But I'm actually curious to see how the other third parties are going to handle this. I'm partial to Gigabyte myself, but there's also MSI, which I'm personally not a fan of. Zotac, I think, has done a couple of the 20 series. So just curious to see how it's going to affect the market for those. Since they're losing essentially a major competitor, are they going to raise their prices? Are they going to lower it to try to attract more for the 40 series?
Yeah. That's definitely something, you take a player out in that market, it kind of frees them up to do a little bit more or different tactics. It's always bad on the consumer when any part of the market, calls it quits. So here's hoping EVGA and NVIDIA work something out where they continue to make new series. Maybe it's just a PR stunt, just get their names out on the news. I don't know.
It can definitely be any of those things. At the moment, I'm actually gonna kind of attribute it to some corporate greed. They like how things are, their current status quo, and they don't want to release, any more. Uh, they don't want to like lengthen the leash of
Yeah.
EVGA. They want it as is because that's what's bringing that revenue for NVIDIA at the moment.
Well, not just that. I mean, if you think about it from NVIDIA's perspective, them holding out on the key information is important as well, right? On a security standpoint, they don't want those blueprints to get released before it reaches the public. Once you start putting that into more hands, you open up more risk. How many times have we seen, leaks that has just been massive and detrimental to major projects? It happens all the times. And honestly, this is a perfect segue for a massive leak for Rockstar with Grand Theft Auto 6.
I actually did just hear about that. I actually left it off my notes because I was like, you know what, Tortuga's going to handle this one. I did see some inklings of some leaked video of Grand Theft Auto 6. Rumored to be Grand Theft Auto 6.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? The gaming community. So whoever leaked it is saying that this is GTA 6 gameplay. But there are some people that believe that this is fan made. And I'm going to be honest, from what I saw, if that was fan made, Rockstar, y'all need to make a new position for this team, because I'll tell you what, it is pretty damn convincing.
That is interesting. I actually avoided watching it, so I'll probably give it a glimpse after the episode here. But I am very interesting to see what they had on there.
It's not very spoiler-y. It was a small clip of the main character just passing by and watching some NPCs just have some voiceover actions in the background. It's nothing story related per se, but they do give it a small hint that the game takes place around 2020, 2022 timeframe.
That's pretty cool. There's so many rumors going on with the story that they were going to do kind of like a Vice City era and also current era. There's rumors that they want to keep the multi-character platform. In this case, it's supposed to be a brother and a sister going into all of their shenanigans. Since you saw the video, what did the background look like? Because everything is kind of pointing to Vice City at this point.
No, it was more structure than Vice City.
Okay.
There were more buildings in the background. I believe there was a pretty high bridge, or kind of like a highway type thing in the distance.
Okay.
So I didn't.
I was wondering if it's going to be a new city or if we're going back to Liberty City.
Yeah, maybe it felt more like Liberty City to me. But I was just trying to see if the gameplay, because I wanted to see if it was true or not, if I could depict any kind of like hiccup. So it's interesting. But yeah, a huge leak, but it is nice to see something in general, because Grand Theft Auto 5 came out forever ago.
2013 on the Xbox 360.
Yeah, it is. It's been a long time coming. I mean, Grand Theft Auto is a fan favorite. It has a very large following. I'm going to get it. That's going to be a day zero game for me. As soon as it comes out, and start that download process, because apparently it's going to be the largest map they've ever made.
Well, even right now with everything, I want to say it's about just over 100 gigs for Grand Theft Auto 5. So, I wonder what engine they're on. They're probably still going to be on Unreal 4 or their particular engine, because Unreal 5 is, while it was just taken out, I doubt they would have gotten that much development in. Although Unreal 5 would be great to see.
I mean, I wouldn't say backwards compatible, but I'm pretty sure you can just upgrade a lot of the project parts into Unreal 5. But we'll see. It's gonna be one of those games that you just have to play immediately, because it's one of those games where they have, and well, now, amazing storylines to follow, lots of threads, and just one of those things that you want to experience firsthand and not have spoiled for you. So usually the reason why those type of games make it to the top of the list of my very, very large pile of games that are just staring at me every time I buy a new game.
Yeah, adulthood. I was able to take care of a good chunk of my backlog. I think I'm down to like 2 or 3 games, which is
Left?
great. So left to go. Hmm.
Oh my God.
I took a good chunk out of it this past year, because there was just such a lull in games for me. There's really nothing coming out. Like
Sure,
right
sure.
now, the indie game, The Wandering Village, is what has my attention. So definitely going through that right now. Um, there is currently a Call of Duty beta going on right now. They'll have another one, I believe, this upcoming weekend, which is going to be my segue. Going back to Sony and Microsoft, um, kind of they're kind of butting heads a little bit here. Sony is kind of coming out of their neck a little bit with going after Microsoft and their current acquisition attempt of Activision. Jim Ryan, the CEO of Sony PlayStation, he thinks that it is very, very unfair that this is gonna tip the scales in favor of Microsoft with the purchase of essentially the IP Call of Duty.
Uh, I'm sorry. Sony is upsetty spaghetti because Microsoft is gonna have an IP that Sony won't be able to use.
Exactly. And I know Tortuga's giving me the face of hypocrisy right now because that's one of the biggest sellers of getting a PlayStation right now.
That is their number one playbook, and they're upset
Yeah.
that Microsoft is doing it. This is the story that I'm hearing.
And you are absolutely correct. So, Phil Spencer, CEO of Xbox, is kind of went on record saying that, hey, we're not going to take it off the market, completely for PlayStation. So it is still going to be multi-platform. The only addendum he did have to it is that he doesn't know if it's going to be indefinite. He didn't say that it's going to be up until 2023, and then it's only going to be on Xbox and PC. Obviously, they'll probably do that as well. And Jim Ryan is throwing a fit. He said that Xbox's offer to extend Call of Duty's availability on PlayStation platforms is inadequate. Direct quote, inadequate. And it actually caused the United Kingdom's Competition and Markets Authority to recommend a second phase investigation into Microsoft's acquisition of Activision Blizzard, as it believes that it could stifle competition in the video game industry in the region. And then, Sony, of course, has responded that it welcomes the announcement of further investigation. And that level of hypocrisy from Sony is just not sitting well with me.
Yeah.
Talking just right now off the top of my head, you have Horizon Forbidden West. You had Spider-Man, God of War, just to name a couple, the only ones that I was even considering getting a PlayStation 4. Spider-Man 1 and God of War 2018, both came out in 2018, a couple months apart. And we just got them on Steam about this year. Maybe it was last year. I know Spider-Man was just a couple months ago in August. And I think God of War was in around March as well. So that's 4 years of that exclusivity. And it's something brand new, for virtually brand new, to bring these major IPs to Steam. So I do not agree with Jim Ryan. I believe he's fully in the wrong here.
And I just want to say, like, that's to Steam, that's to PC. Granted, Microsoft does have a PC element to it through some Xbox games on there, but it's not necessarily to Microsoft. It's not bringing in Microsoft into those games.
Right, exactly. It's still exclusive to Sony PlayStation. So it's something that I don't agree with at all. But we'll see what comes of it. And in addition to that, just a bit more of Microsoft news is Microsoft has stated that they are considering buying more studios to stay competitive with Tencent and Sony. So very curious to see what Phil Spencer is going to do with that, especially after finalizing that purchase of Activision Blizzard.
Yeah. I mean, we're all just going to fall under Tencent. That's just how it's going to work out.
Agreed. They're just such a major player.
Man, that's insane. Yeah, Sony's acting very childish with basically with what you just said. It's ridiculous. And I really hope, if it bothers them this much, maybe they'll let go of this PlayStation only crap that's been going on since their inception.
Right, exactly. I think it's more of the PlayStation. I want to say PlayStation 3 because, PS2 and OG Xbox, I don't think that's really fair to kind of pit them together. But the PS3 and the Xbox 360 was probably the start of that initial rivalry, I would say. And I know the main complaint that Sony's going to throw in there is that even if it is available multi-platform, like they're stating, that Xbox does plan to put older and newer Call of Duty on their Game Pass subscription. So if the new Call of Duty is day one on Xbox, it can absolutely entice people to just get the subscription and get the Xbox and kind of say, why pay full price for it? So like I get the complaint to an extent, but people are going to play where they're going to play. Like, I wouldn't get any multiplayer game on a PlayStation. One, because I still can't get a PlayStation 5. But two, because most of the people that I would even normally play with are either on PC, so we can use the Xbox app, Game Pass app from there, or they're just on my Xbox games list entirely. So regardless, I will get it on that platform. So you're going to go where your teammates are for the most part.
Yep, 100%. So all we can do is wait and see what comes out of it. It's just crazy to me that they're complaining about that, because I mean, I know they know how it sounds.
They have to. They absolutely have to. I doubt that noise is just staying silent. Like, hey buddy, or my favorite term that I got from my buddy Alan. Do you hear yourself right now? Yeah. Do you hear yourself?
Yeah. Wow. Beautiful.
As far as the major kind of announcements, that's going to be it for me. There was a push for Final Fantasy Crisis Core, getting that December release date. Very big couple months or a couple years for Final Fantasy fans, from the original Final Fantasy VII Remake to the announcement of the sequel. And now we're getting another remake with Crisis Core, still taking place in that Final Fantasy VII universe. So that's coming out soon. Had a lot of big upgrades. So kind of curious to see how that's going to be, because a lot of people didn't play that one since it was on the PSP. But it rapidly got a cult following because of how it places itself in the Final Fantasy VII timeline.
That's pretty neat. Yeah, I me, Final Fantasy was a PlayStation proprietary game for the longest time, so I never got into it until 13, and I've only played that in 15. So it's cool that true fans are getting something.
No, for real. If you got a chance, I know it's probably nowhere on your thing, but you would love the Final Fantasy VII remake. Yeah, they did a lot to make it accessible to newer players, because they have like 3 different combat modes that you get to choose.
That's pretty neat. Yeah, while you were talking about Sony, I looked up to see what my back catalog of games. I'm at 60. So yeah, we'll see.
Everything I have coming up here is more rapid fire news. So if you have anything major, you can kind of take it from here.
No, the biggest thing that I had was EVGA breaking up with NVIDIA, and then the leak that Grand Theft Auto 6 potentially has out there. So by all means.
Okay. So again, not going to be too lengthy here. Much more of the rapid fire for me. Season 2 of the Halo TV show started production.
Paramount
That's pretty cool. Yep, Paramount Plus, another service.
Yeah.
For those who are interested, the Sims 4 base game will be free to play as of October 18th.
Nice.
I doubt you remember it because I completely forgot about this. But Platinum Games live service game Babylon's Fall. Do you remember that at all?
The name sounds very familiar, but it doesn't come to mind what that is.
It's basically a brand new game that came out a couple months ago. It was famous because on the Steam current players list, it at one point had just one person playing the entire live service game.
Wow.
Yeah, but just about 6 months after release, the developer has announced that it's actually shutting down the servers come, I think it was February 2023. So completely shutting down the game. Not even a full year. It was like 194 days that it was active.
Wow. That's sad. That's not something you want to see.
It is not, especially excuse me, especially coming from such a prominent developer. Platinum Games have made some of the best games out there, So I guess the live service thing didn't work out. Street Fighter 6 has announced its launch roster with 18 characters. Some I recognize, some I do not at all. So curious to see how that's going to be. A couple years ago, we had the Sony, one of the Sony showcases. I want to say it was 2019, with a name labeled only as Project Eve. But we got some brand new visuals for it, officially labeled as Stellar Blade. And it has combat similar to Devil May Cry or Bayonetta. So it looks really good if you haven't checked out that trailer. Once again, Sony jumping back in here. They have confirmed that the PSVR 1 games are not compatible with PSVR 2. The Sonic team lead wants to make Sonic Adventure 3. I'm pretty sure that's more news just for me, since Sonic Adventure 2 is probably one of the best Sonic games of all time, in my opinion. So very, very excited to see that it's at least an inkling in their brain. So we'll see where that comes from. And lastly, for me, going to do a couple of even faster rapid fire here. This is all in relation to the Nintendo Direct that we had this week. So we have Pikmin 4 coming in 2023. A new Fire Emblem. Fire Emblem Engage is the name of the game. So it's a brand new Fire Emblem game for those who are into those. We're getting a sequel to Octopath Traveler 2. Bayonetta 3 got a new trailer. I don't know if you caught that, Tortuga.
Yes, it's a quite exciting time.
Yeah, Tortuga's a big fan. Recently, we got some GoldenEye 007 is actually coming back into the mainstream, and
Nice.
They are launching it with online play. It's coming out on the Switch and the Xbox. I don't believe it's coming out on PlayStation. A lot of negativity towards the online portion since the Xbox and the Nintendo aren't compatible. So we'll see if they're going to do anything with that. I doubt it, to be honest. But each respective platform will have its own multiplayer for sure. And Mario Kart, we're getting a third wave of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's Booster Course Pass. So we're getting a couple new maps for Mario Kart 8. And then finally, for me, we got a new trailer for the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, now formally titled The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. And people are torn if it's Tears or Tears, but I'm going with Tears. And I am very, very excited. I have watched so many theory videos already. It's kind of sickening. And that is going to be it for me. I don't think I got anything else on here.
I only got one little bit of news. I mean, it's not a big deal. It's just an update. So Pokemon has a new game coming out relatively soon. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet to release November 18th. So keep an eye out for that. That's what our next giveaway should be.
That should be. I was thinking about doing one for Wandering Village as well. So I'm just hyping it up so much. If anyone is into that. Actually, there was something big that happened. Not really game related, but I think it's just something that everyone should watch. But it was reported, I want to say yesterday or the day before, that we are getting a sequel to the Constantine movie. So we're getting Constantine 2 with Keanu Reeves.
Wow, Keanu Reeves is busy. He made a sequel to all his big name titles: Matrix, John Wick, now this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the people have been waiting for this one for a long time. I want to say the original Constantine came out in 2004, 2005. So I am very curious because a lot of people don't know this, but Constantine is technically in the DC universe. He's an official DC character.
Yep. Very, very true. And we'll see. Maybe they'll actually use this as a way to make good DC movies. I mean, I know they did pretty well with Aquaman and Wonder Woman. So let's see if they can keep this going.
Yeah, no, for real, because I know the DC universe or cinematic universe has not been doing too great, and personally, I think it's because they're trying to compete with the Marvel universe, but the Marvel universe took years to settle itself before it kind of found its stride. So we'll see how that works. Last thing, I think I mentioned it a couple episodes ago or last episode, but for anyone who's a fan of Rick and Morty, they're coming out that the actor Justin Roiland has like a game studio. It's called High on Life, which I'm sure it's just going to be like their script and him using like their voices from Rick and Morty, but it looks so fun. Play slow like the Outer World or Fallout combat. That's what it looked like to me, as far as a first-person shooter goes. But the kicker here is like the guns are kind of alive, so the guns are going to be doing most of the dialogue here.
Interesting.
You should watch the trailer. I think you would like it. It's like silly enjoyable.
Sure, Borderlands type of feel.
Yep, Borderlands type of feel, or humor, if you will, and then of course the Rick and Morty humor as well.
Right, that's pretty neat. Yeah, Rick and Morty's been doing touch and go on different kinds of projects. I know they have a book out with for Dungeons and Dragons as well. Oh my God! I mean, I don't know how much time we have, but there's been a huge announcement from Wizards of the Coast, where they're moving to what's called 1D&D or D&D 1, but I want to say it's 1D&D. As the new kind of evolution. So Wizards of the Coast officially bought D&D Beyond. So massive.
That's pretty awesome. Wow. That's fantastic. We've kind of mentioned it you've mentioned it that you would love to see them do that because of how amazing the platform is. So very curious to see how that's going to be to combine Wizards of the Coast with D&D and their projects moving forward.
Yep. So of course, you always have the naysayers. A lot of people very skeptical on what that purchase is going to do to D&D Beyond, because D&D Beyond was just a fabulous tool. It is quite pricey, but if you use it regularly, it's well worth it, in my opinion. But now Wizards of the Coast officially owns it. So now what we're waiting for is that every time you buy a physical book, that you get a code in the book that lets you get digital content in D&D Beyond. Right. That's kind of the bridge that a lot of people want to see gapped. And I believe that they said something around the lines that they're willing to create something like that. They weren't able to do that because Wizards of the Coast technically had nothing to do with Curse, because I believe that's who owned D&D Beyond. Now that they own it, it's their IP. They can do whatever they want with it. And then they're also releasing a whole bunch of kind of rewrites to the rules to basically go into this one D&D, and there's a lot that went into that a lot of people are not happy about, myself included. They changed some core mechanics that I'm just not thrilled. So we'll see what happens. It's kind of the pre-alpha that they're trying to get community feedback, and they're pretty good at listening and adjusting whatever they come out with. And because D&D 5th edition was one of the best editions, especially for new players in D&D. You didn't have to deal with some crazy math. It's a very simplified version. So definitely keep an ear out for that. There's going to be a lot more that they're going to do with these projects. And we'll see what D&D Beyond becomes with this new acquisition.
Well, that's pretty insane to see. I think that'd be great, because one of the biggest gripes that we had with the Wizards of the Coast and Dungeons and Dragons is, if you bought the book and they made updates, then you were kind of just stuck with that hard copy. So one of the major appeals of D&D Beyond was that you also got the updates if you bought it from there. So
that's correct.
If you got that digital content with the updates just by purchasing the books, I feel like that's a win-win for everybody.
I agree. Yeah. So we'll see what model they're gonna adopt with this, because is it gonna be you need a D&D Beyond subscription to activate your book, to hold your digital library? So far that's not the case, but things can change. These are companies, and they're gonna try to figure out the best way to make more money than the years prior. So it's just something to watch out for, because Wizards of the Coast also doesn't have the best track record with their projects as a whole. There's always a lot of negativity that comes from their departments. So we'll see. All we can do is watch and hope that they actually listen to the feedback that the people are providing.
It's true. So we'll see what that comes. I actually found a footnote that I forgot. We are getting a couple updates to the Xbox Game Pass this month. Well, just Game Pass in general. There are a couple of big things that are coming. So the major ones that I'll kind of highlight here is the DC League of Super Pets is getting a game. A Fallout 76 Expeditions. The Pit is currently available. Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch, which was a PlayStation exclusive, is now on Game Pass. Assassin's Creed Odyssey for a console and PC. The Outer Wilds is getting the Xbox Series X and S version update. Metal Hellsinger is a new game, definitely inspired by Doom if you see it. One of the cool things is that you get kind of bonus points for killing them like on a beat, kind of like Crypt of the Necrodancer. So that's kind of cool. Deathloop, which was a PlayStation exclusive, is coming to Xbox Series X and S. Slime Rancher 2 going to early access on console and PC. Grounded 1.0, so it's officially out of early access. So these are the official release on here. And then Valheim is actually coming to Game Pass as well. So super excited. Wow. Yeah. Valheim has kind of gone to the shadows. I still play it very, very little. Just not as fun by yourself. But with opening up that gateway, if you will, to Xbox Game Pass, I wonder if a lot more people will try it, because it's just such a fun game.
And just a little note, Xbox and Discord have now a partnership where Xbox Party Chat and Discord Chat can work together. So there's also that.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. I know we talked briefly about Street Fighter, but for those who are not interested in that universe, we also got an announcement of Tekken 8. Another major player in the fighting game area. So that's kind of pretty cool. Kojima Productions looks like they're working on some sort of VR game to come out. And then the Resident Evil 4 remake is actually coming out on PlayStation 4 as well, which is kind of interesting.
That is interesting. But, fighting games are not my cup of tea. But, for who enjoys that tea, have at it. Congrats on all of these new fighting games of button mashing.
Kind of curious because we spoke a long time ago with that Sony purchased Evo, right? The fighting game tournament, one of the biggest of the year. So kind of curious to see what's gonna happen with that, because of all the delays that we've gotten, and now with these announcements, how it's gonna work moving forward for them.
Very, very true. We'll see. Is that all, broski?
I believe so. I think that's gonna be it for reviews for me, or
Very
just
cool.
announcements or news. Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's all I have as well. Then, so with that said, I'm gonna go ahead and
actually, before you do that, one last thing: if you haven't, please check out Cyberpunk Edge Runners. If you were on the now, you should do it. Takes place in the Cyberpunk 2077 universe. It's a 10-episode anime, essentially, and it grasps so much of the positive of the Cyberpunk universe, just the core essence of it. Do yourself a favor and check it out. And that'll be it for me.
Yeah, we'll see. Most likely not from me, but that's just me. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and sign us out then, and thank all of you for hanging out with us this episode. As always, if you want to show us support, the best way to do that is to share this podcast with anyone you think would enjoy it. Always check out the descriptions for some links to some of our other content. But yeah, so thank you all for hanging out. Thanks for listening. See you next time.